So he posted a link to, it says 50 Cent reportedly developing a Surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary.
50 Cent just gave the internet exactly what it wasn't ready for. A sneak peek at what appears to be a full-blown documentary targeting T.I. and Tiny, and it came loaded with some of the most serious allegations anyone has thrown at the Atlanta power couple in years. For a brief moment, fans thought Fif was just doing what he does best, stirring the pot for sport. He put up a post on Instagram, let it breathe for a few hours, and then yanked it down like it never happened. But before he pulled it, the damage was already done, because the most explosive portion had already made its way into the world. Word circulating through the industry right now suggests that T.I. is not in the best headspace. And honestly, given everything that's been swirling around him lately, that's hardly a surprise. Here's everything we know. Why and trust? There is a lot to unpack. On March 5th, 2026, 50 Cent logged onto Instagram with what felt like a calculated move, dropped a post linking to a headline about a documentary he's reportedly developing called Surviving T.I. and Tiny, and then deleted the whole thing before the sun went down. In the caption, Fif made it crystal clear that this was not a casual comment. He drew parallels to how quiet he went right before his last documentary project landed, and then addressed T.I. directly, warning him that the film would be asking hard questions about his 20 sexual assault cases and suggesting that Tip might want to get a crisis PR firm on speed dial. The post disappeared, but the conversation it sparked, that was never going anywhere.
He posted it on his page.
Well, it ain't on there now. Did he take it off?
Yeah, he deleted it.
He put it up and then took it down. And everybody grabbed it.
The post was gone, but as anyone who has ever watched the internet operate knows, gone doesn't mean forgotten. The smoke had already filled the room. Within hours of 50's caption hitting feeds, every major hip-hop blog, every entertainment gossip platform, and every YouTube commentary channel with a pulse had already run the story in full.
Everybody grabbed it.
So he basically, he shut the internet down today just showing that I ain't done with this shit.
Outlets like the Jasmine brand, Ice Cream Convos, and the Hip Hop Democrat all came through with their own takes on what was unfolding. Gossip commentator Tasha K had actually been putting people on as far back as March 1st, 2026, suggesting that 50 was quietly working on something behind the scenes while the tension between him and T.I. was steadily building. When that deleted post went live and then vanished, it handed every entertainment outlet in the game a reason to run the story without hesitation. What made 50's caption particularly sharp was the deliberate line he drew between this project and his previous documentary work. By titling it Surviving T.I. and Tiny, the reference was unmistakable, a direct nod to Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly, the groundbreaking 2019 docuseries that brought R. into Kelly's decades of alleged sexual abuse into the national conversation through powerful survivor testimonies and ultimately contributed to his criminal conviction. That title wasn't chosen by accident. It was a message, and the culture received it loud and clear.
50 Cent hints at Surviving T.I. and Tiny, listen at this, documentary, and calls out the rapper over 20 sexual assault cases.
T.I. was not about to sit back and let 50 Cent control the narrative. He moved quickly, pulling up to Instagram with a family photo, using the image to send a message without saying a word.
50, drop whatever you choose. Just please keep showing the world you're a whore. On Clay. Who's Clay? And you still ain't tell us why you in 4K dick pulling with the smile of a sissy. Pandora's box is ajar, which means open in Spanish. Good luck. You nigga. You suck. P.S. Me and mine till the end of time. It's a trauma bond.
That same day, Tip also dropped a video of himself alongside his son, King Harris. The two of them settled in together working on a new record called Let Him Know, produced by Pharrell and set to appear on his upcoming album Kill the King. The caption that came with it left very little room for interpretation.
I dropped this video and he says, we can go bar for bar, hit for hit, or doc for doc. Either way, all you're gonna do is show how much of a you is. Let's play. Nobody fears you over here, boo-boo. And he dropped another freestyle, or some song.
Then around March 7th, 2026, T.I. took things a step further and released a track called Trauma Bond, and it was aimed squarely at the center of this whole situation. The lyrics leaned heavily into themes of family, loyalty, and solidarity, and treated 50 Cent's documentary threat as if it were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Even the title itself spoke volumes, signaling exactly how T.I. and his camp were choosing to frame their position in the middle of all this chaos.
Yes, me and mine till the end of time. It's a trauma bond.
Throughout the entire situation, Tip's energy never wavered. He came through with fearless bars, pointed captions, and release after release, daring 50 to match the moment. When you look at it from a distance, what 50 Cent actually did was hand T.I. a free promotional window right in the middle of his album rollout. And Tip cashed that check without blinking. But to truly understand why 50 even picked up the documentary idea in the first place, you have to go back to where the real fire started, because this beef didn't just appear in 2026 out of thin air. The bad blood between these two men stretches back nearly 2 decades, and what reignited it in early 2026 was a versus battle that 50 Cent famously never showed up for. The earliest sparks trace all the way back to 2007 and 2008, and dock in en prionic frisimdind psyking when T.I. was hit with a federal gun charge after attempting to purchase machine guns and silencers. He worked out a plea deal and ultimately served around a year, a relatively light outcome given that he was staring down potentially a decade behind bars. 50 Cent looked at those numbers and put into bars what a lot of people in the streets were already whispering, that a sentence that light only happened if someone talked to someone. On the 2008 G-Unit track You So Tough, 50 embedded that narrative directly, throwing shade at T.I.'s sentencing and framing it as evidence that Tip had cooperated with federal authorities. That informant label never fully faded from the conversation. Through the 2000s and 10s, the two men mostly stayed in their own lanes, with the occasional jab thrown in for good measure. When T.I. and Tiny both got arrested on drug possession charges in 2011 following his prison release, 50 took to social media to make jokes, but neither man escalated things to a full-scale war. They both had too much to lose and too much to protect. T.I. was building an acting career, expanding the Trap Music Museum, and navigating reality television, while 50 was growing the Power franchise, stacking his business portfolio, and developing G-Unit Film and Television into a serious entertainment company. Then came the pandemic, and with it, Versus, and everything shifted. When Timbaland and Swizz Beatz launched the platform in 2020, T.I. saw an opportunity he couldn't ignore. On July 6, 2020, 50 Cent's 45th birthday, which was not a coincidence, Tip posted a formal call-out on Instagram, demanding a 20-song catalog battle between the two. 50 brushed it off like it was the funniest thing he'd heard all year. T.I. kept the pressure up in interviews. 50 kept sidestepping. The Versus never came together. Then in early 2026, T.I. was on his promotional run for Let Them Know, sitting down with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Ochocinco on Nightcap, and he brought up the Versus again. But this time, he dropped a detail that completely changed the conversation. He revealed that 50 had actually agreed to do it privately. According to T.I., the two of them had been in Los Angeles together pitching television projects when the subject came up, and 50 was fully on board. The plan was for T.I. to announce it publicly first, then 50 would follow and they'd build the hype together.
This just come out of nowhere. We were moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows while we were around each other, man, you know what I mean? I said, what you think about this? Like, you want to do that shit? I said, yeah. He was like, all right, cool. So I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line it up.
But the moment T.I. went public with the announcement, 50 went completely silent. And according to Tip, that silence cost 50 every last ounce of credibility he had with him from that point forward.
And he said, all right. And when I jump out there, he act like he ain't know what the going on. Then that's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? Now, it about, oh, you playing.
That single detail, 50 shaking hands behind closed doors and then pretending the conversation never happened once cameras were around, is what gave T.I.'s entire position its foundation. This was no longer just a story about a rapper getting turned down for a Versus request. This was about a man who said yes privately and then disappeared publicly. 50's response to the fallout was not a press statement or a media run. He went to Instagram and posted an unflattering photograph of Tiny Harris, a deliberately bad angle, clearly chosen to embarrass, with a caption telling T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. Most people who saw it took it as a direct shot at the entire Harris household. Marketing professional Karen Civil, who has moved in serious industry circles alongside names like Lil Wayne, offered a different take on Threads. Her read was that 50 never actually said anything negative about Tiny specifically, that he simply posted her photo and told T.I. to back off. But the Harris family was not receiving it that way.
50 posted a picture of Tiny and said, "Leave me out of it." Social media T.I. and his whole family took that post as a negative connotation, even though he never specifically said anything bad about Tiny. He just posted her photo and said, "Stop discussing."
King Harris fired back by digging up old compromising images of 50 that had been floating around the internet for years and blasting them publicly. Damani Harris dropped diss tracks going directly at 50's past. T.I. himself started releasing records at a relentless pace, Reports emerged that police had received calls about online threats during this stretch of the conflict, meaning the digital war had started bleeding into real-world territory. T.I. eventually made his way to TMZ to put his position on the record, face-to-face, no filter.
Listen, man, the only thing I have to say is very unfortunate, but honestly, I wasn't here to defeat. I was here to defend.
And what 50 Cent was threatening to pull into that documentary, those 20 sexual assault cases he referenced in the deleted caption. That story runs far deeper than any Versus dispute and carries a darkness that no rap beef could come close to matching. When 50 Cent wrote 20 sexual assault cases in that now deleted post, he was pointing directly at a wave of allegations that went public in January 2021 and snowballed into one of the most damaging stretches T.I. and Tiny had ever faced in their public lives. It all began on January 25th, 2021, when Atlanta entrepreneur Sabrina Peterson took to Instagram and accused T.I. of pulling a gun on her in front of her children during a prior confrontation. Peterson deleted the post, but the damage it caused in the comments section could not be undone. Women began coming forward with their own stories. Peterson collected those accounts and shared them to her Instagram stories, where they lived for 24 hours before disappearing. What emerged from those stories was a deeply troubling pattern. Multiple women alleged that T.I. and Tiny operated through a consistent system. Invite women to private parties or hotel suites, ensure their drinks were spiked with substances like MDMA or ecstasy, and then proceed to take advantage of them sexually without their consent. Attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn, who stepped in to represent several of the accusers, noted publicly that the accounts were eerily consistent with one another. By January 28th and 29th, 2021, Peterson had shared more than 24 of these accounts with her audience. One early anonymous accuser described being drugged after meeting the couple at a nightclub, then waking up the following morning in significant pain with no memory of what had taken place the night before. The pattern across the accounts never changed. The celebrity pull, the VIP invitation, the spiked drink, the blackout, and then the aftermath. The most detailed and documented case on record involved a United States Air Force veteran and an incident that allegedly took place in 2005.
And posted them to her Instagram stories, where they lived for 24 hours before disappearing.
According to the civil lawsuit she eventually filed, she connected with the couple at a party at another celebrity's home. Later received word that T.I. and Tiny would be at a club the following evening, showed up, met them in VIP, and accepted a drink directly from Tiny. After that drink, she described everything around her beginning to feel wrong in ways she couldn't explain.
T.I. and Tiny have been sued for sexual assault and battery on a woman in a Los Angeles hotel. So the situation, the woman claims that in 2005, she was enlisted in the U.S. Air Force at the time.
She alleged that after accepting that drink from Tiny, she found herself in a car headed to a hotel with the couple. 2 other women who had been in the vehicle with them were dropped off along the way. Once inside the hotel room, she said things progressed to a point that she did not consent to, and then her body began to give out on her entirely. She became dizzy, disoriented, and then lost consciousness completely.
That she met T.I. and Tiny in the VIP section. So at this point, they're all hanging out in the VIP section. She said she ordered 2 amaretto sours on her own.
When she woke up, she was in pain. Security escorted her out of the hotel, while T.I. and Tiny remained asleep inside. The couple did not stay silent in the face of these accusations. On January 29, 2021, their spokesperson released a statement calling the allegations egregiously appalling and framing the entire situation as an orchestrated shakedown campaign. T.I. then took to Instagram himself to address the accusations directly and speak his piece to the public.
The woman then went to the bathroom to throw up, and she said she blacked out after that. She woke up the next morning.
By February 19, 2021, Attorney Blackburn had sent formal letters to prosecutors in both California and Georgia demanding that criminal investigations be launched on behalf of 11 accusers. By March 1st, he held a press conference announcing that he had been contacted by more than 30 potential victims or witnesses. 3 more women came forward in March 2021 alone, one claiming she was drugged and assaulted in Miami in 2010, another reporting a similar experience in Las Vegas, and a third alleging she had been held against her will following a party. The LAPD confirmed in May 2021 that they had opened an active investigation specifically tied to the 2005 Air Force veterans case. Las Vegas Metro Police received a separate report related to the 2010 incident. T.I. and Tiny's VH1 reality show was suspended in February 2021 as the fallout hit from multiple directions simultaneously. But what those investigations ultimately produced, or more accurately, what they failed to produce, is where the real story lives. And it is precisely why 50 Cent's documentary threat carries weight in the court of public opinion, even when it has almost no traction left in an actual courtroom. Every single criminal investigation into the alleged conduct of T.Y. and Tiny ended up in the exact same place. Not a guilty verdict, not a not guilty verdict either. Every one of them was shut down because the clock had simply run out. In September 2021, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office declined to file charges in the 2005 Air Force veterans case. The DA's charge evaluation worksheet was blunt. The statute of limitations, capped at 10 years under California's pre-2007 rules, had already expired. The DA's office never even reached the point of weighing the evidence. The case died on a technicality of time, not on a reading of the facts. T.I. and Tiny's attorney, Sean Hawley, came out saying they were pleased but unsurprised by the outcome, framing it as a vindication. But the DA's worksheet told a far more procedural story. Time had run out before anyone could get to the substance of what actually happened. Las Vegas Metro Police ran their own investigation into the 2010 incident and arrived at the same conclusion. Potential probes in Georgia and Florida, set in motion by Blackburn's letters to prosecutors, never made it to formal indictments. No federal charges came through anywhere. Commentators who had been closely following the beef had no problem being straightforward about what that legal record actually meant.
What we ever have done has been done with consensual adults who into what we into and like what we like. If we want something, we know exactly where to go to get it.
With the criminal lane officially closed, the accusers shifted their strategy and took the fight into civil court. In January 2024, the same Air Force veteran from the 2005 case filed a civil lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court, this time coming through under California's Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act, a 2022 law specifically designed to reopen a window for civil suits in cases where the standard statute of limitations had already expired, provided there was evidence of a cover-up by a legally responsible entity.
Situation with T.I. and Tiny, like it says, no criminal charges was ever filed. They were investigated but never arrested for those allegations. No criminal charges was filed, largely due to the statute of limitations, issues and lack of prosecutable cases.
T.I. and Tiny moved the case to federal court in March 2024 and filed for dismissal in June 2024, arguing that the claims were time-barred and that the complaint failed to provide sufficient facts to trigger the revival statute. Specifically, that no qualifying cover-up by a legally responsible entity had been adequately alleged. On August 8, 2024, U.S. District Judge Sherilyn Peace Garnett sided with T.I. and Tiny and dismissed the lawsuit in its entirety. The dismissal came without prejudice, meaning the plaintiff retained the option to amend and refile. As of March 2026, no amended complaint has surfaced publicly. On a separate track, the defamation lawsuit T.I. and Tiny had filed against Sabrina Peterson, the woman whose 2021 Instagram post cracked the whole story open, had been grinding through the courts on its own timeline. Peterson fired back with a countersuit for defamation, trade libel, and emotional distress. In June 2023, a California appeals court knocked out 5 of Peterson's 7 causes of action. In October 2023, a judge ordered Peterson to pay T.Y. and Tiny $96,773 in legal fees on the dismissed claims. The full defamation trial between T.I. and Peterson is currently scheduled for June 9, 2026. So where does all of that leave things? No convictions, no criminal charges ever filed. The major civil lawsuit dismissed in August 2024 with no public refiling on record, and a defamation trial sitting on the calendar for summer 2026. The power behind 50 Cent's documentary threat comes entirely from the gap between those legal outcomes and what the public still carries in its memory. No conviction is on the books. But nothing has officially cleared the Harrises in the public consciousness either. The allegations remain out there, legally closed but culturally unresolved. And that unresolved space is precisely where a documentary does its most lasting damage. Whatever 50 Cent is building, if he's building anything at all, it is living in that gap. And understanding just how real the documentary actually is changes everything about how you interpret T.I.'s response to it. As of March 13th, 2026, there is no confirmed documentary. None. No episodes in post-production, no network deal announced, no casting calls posted, no production timeline released by 50 Cent or anyone at G-Unit Film and Television. What exists is one post that went up, broke the internet, and got deleted before the day was done. Meanwhile, anyone who has watched 50 Cent work for the last 2 decades knows exactly what that play was. His entire blueprint: go quiet, let the silence build pressure, then drop something that flips public perception completely, is well documented. The deleted post was running that same game. Plant the headline, let the internet carry it, pull it back before it becomes an official commitment, and watch the chaos multiply on its own. But beyond the question of whether the documentary is real, there's the bigger question of whether it would even land the way 50 needs it to. The appetite for a T.I. and Tiny documentary simply is not sitting where it was for 50's previous work. The allegations against T.I. and Tiny were investigated, the courts dealt with them, and the public largely moved on years ago.
And what that allows victims to do, that it gives adult survivors more time to file lawsuits in cases where, like, the statute of limitations would have expired.
50 Cent's actual response to T.I.'s flood of diss records never came through music. It came through the theme song for his Starz show Power Origins, featuring Leon Thomas, dropping March 6th, 2026. The track slid in indirect shots, bars about people learning to leave him alone, and lines referencing those who traded their self-respect for attention. But T.I.'s name never appeared anywhere in it.
But I don't think Netflix is gonna give him no deal on no T.I. documentary.
Last time you saw
I don't think so. The demand is not as high for a T.I. documentary.
One particular bar was widely read as being directed at King Harris rather than T.Y. himself, and it illustrated clearly which lane 50 had chosen to stay in. He was not interested in going bar for bar with Tip. He was using a television property as his vehicle to take indirect shots while keeping his own hands clean, letting the documentary threat do the heavy lifting in the streets. Those watching closely from the outside read the strategy without any difficulty.
So 50 drops a theme song for the shows and disses T.I. Let's hear it. Your daddy made your mama eat every box in Atlanta.
Meanwhile, T.I. was flooding the timeline relentlessly. War, The Right One, Lessons, Made Man, Let Them Know, Trauma Bond, record after record. His forthcoming final album, Kill the King, was being built in real time right in the middle of the smoke. The beef was fueling the rollout in ways that no marketing budget on earth could have manufactured. But T.I. did carry one regret through all of it: watching his son King go as far as putting 50 Cent's late mother on a t-shirt. In multiple interviews, T.I. made it clear that was the line for him, the one moment in the whole saga that he wished had not happened.
Are we expecting 50 to really compete, like, musically? I don't know, maybe I'm being biased because I'm like, bro, there's nothing that I would think 50 would respond to.
And when TMZ caught up with T.I. and asked him to cut through everything and explain what this situation was really about at its core, his answer came back short, clean, and completely consistent with every message he had been putting out since the very first day this all started.
Said that's enough. Really, I said that's enough when I seen that t-shirt. I said, man, this is enough. That's it. I said, man, chill out, bro. Chill out. Because again, I'm big on treating people the way I want to be treated.
Right.
I don't be out here just doing unto others in ways I don't want to be done.
What this entire situation has put on full display is exactly how hip-hop beefs operate at the highest level in 2026. The threat of a documentary now hits harder than the documentary itself ever could. A post that gets deleted by noon can generate more conversation and cause more damage than a finished distributed project that takes 2 full years to complete. The documentary that the entire culture has been talking about does not actually exist yet. And T.I. is still standing. He's dropping what he says will be his final album, holding his family together publicly, and telling 50 Cent to release whatever he wants to release. Whether that documentary ever truly materializes is what will write the next chapter of this story. But as of right now, when the only thing 50 Cent has actually put into the world is a post he pulled down before lunchtime,